Hello, my name is Cynthia Williams. I am a nutritionist. I specialize in working with women 35 and older to help them understand these hormonal changes that we're going through. I'm 45 and a mom of a 4-year-old, and I am right in this mix with you. There are all kinds of hormonal fluctuations and changes that are happening to us physically, in our gut, mentally, all of that kind of stuff. And my job is to help that make it easier for you and understand that these fluctuations and these changes don't have to be terrible. You don't have to dread this period of life. You don't have to think it's going to be the worst thing ever and it's just all downhill from there. The average woman goes through menopause around age 56 and lives to about 80 years old. So you have almost 3 decades of living after menopause. So it can be fantastic. So today I'm going to talk about some of the cycle changes that occur for those of us that are between 35 and 56, basically, when we're in that perimenopause state and we're starting to have some of those hormonal fluctuations. Some of the things that you can start to see in your cycle that might be a sign that you are in these hormonal fluctuations, and just kind of getting you prepared for that. With all of that said, these changes that you see are not just all related to perimenopause. If you're having other issues with your cycles, if they're extremely heavy or you're having a lot of symptoms with it, there can be some other underlying roots. So I don't want to make it seem like that perimenopause would be the only answer. So if you feel like it's something a little bit more severe than that, I highly recommend you get with your doctor, you get some lab work run, you get it checked out just to make sure that there isn't anything else going on underlying that could be the cause of some of your cycle changes going on. So I have my notes here so that I don't forget anything or I don't side trail, because if you follow me on Instagram or any of those, and I do some of my talks because I'm so passionate about it, and maybe there's a little adult ADD in there, I can get a little sidetracked on one point. I'll hit it, and instead of just saying that specific point and then moving on to the next, I'll trail off on it. So just got my notes so I stay on top of it here. But all right, as a general rule of thumb, if you miss a cycle or go 60 days without having a cycle, it is most likely that menopause will occur in the next 2 years. Let's understand too what perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause actually are. Perimenopause is anywhere from 2 to 10 years, typically, that period of hormonal fluctuations where we have estrogen and progesterone changing the amounts that we have in our systems. And I'll do another one of these on estrogen and all the functions of estrogen. And that's probably the one that impacts us the most, or that we feel the most, is the decline of estrogen. It is a huge player for our cardiac, our mental health, our bone health, our muscle health. It is involved in so many different processes in the body. Like, estrogen is your girl. And that is why when you are in your 20s and early 30s, you can go out with the girls, drink a bottle of wine, have some appetizers, do all of those things, wake up the next morning and not really feel any impact of it. You do that once you're 35 and older, especially 40 and older, it starts to hit you just a little bit harder. And that's because estrogen is declining. She is your girl. She is the one that helps you in your 20s and your early 30s. Like, get through all that stuff. She's flying high during that period. But as she starts to decline, we start to feel those effects of it. And then that is why when you are in postmenopause, you are such higher risk of cardiovascular, metabolic diseases, and things like that that can occur because you're not having those protective benefits of estrogen anymore. And it allows for more fluctuations and more negative impacts to occur that set you up and make you much more likely or at a higher risk for those types of things. So we have perimenopause, which is that 2 to 10 year mark on average. Nobody fits inside of a box, so it might be 2 years to 12 years or whatever, but just generally speaking. Then you have menopause, and menopause is 1 day. Menopause is 12 months to the day of your last cycle. It is 1 day only. After that 1 day, that 12-month and 1 day period, you are now in postmenopause. So you no longer have a cycle. So it's a freeing moment at the same time, but also a moment of like, you know, your fertility is gone and whatever it may be, but it's your second half of your life, and live it, love it, take care of yourself, and just make the most out of that time. But during that perimenopause time, like I said, if you go about 60 days without having a cycle, it is likely that menopause, your day of menopause, is coming within the next 2 years, okay? Cycle changes that can occur by estrogen and progesterone fluctuations. One is it gets heavier. This is more common in women that are overweight, obese, or have fibroids for their cycle to become heavier. It can become lighter, again, due to those hormonal shifts. That is me personally. My cycle has gotten shorter and lighter. Not complaining, right? Longer. You can have longer cycles. So maybe your cycle was normally 5 days. Now it's gone to 7, 8 days, something like that. That, again, can be a sign of perimenopause. Shorter, like me, mine used to be 5 days. Now it runs about 3 days. I will take that over longer, but that, you know, it's just part of it. Spotting, I would say this is probably one of the most annoying things that my clients report to me when we're doing their weekly check-ins, is the spotting, because it's just there and it's just annoying, and it's just, you know, it affects what clothes you decide to wear. We're in summertime and you're swimming, you know, so it's just an annoying factor when that spotting is there. And it is, spotting is probably one of the most common symptoms I do hear from women when I'm working with them during this period of life, is that spotting. Number 6 is missed cycles. So as you start having those fluctuations, it will start changing when ovulation occurs. When ovulation timing is off, it will throw your cycle off, right? Because basically your whole cycle is based off of ovulation and menses, right? Ovulation happens around day 14, the middle of the cycle. Menses happens at the very beginning of the cycle. And, you know, you're in this like repetitive movement over and over again when you have those cycles. So when ovulation gets pushed back, everything else in the cycle gets pushed back as well. And then last is changes in symptoms. You notice an intensity of cramps, bloating, other symptoms that may occur that typically maybe were very mild before. And now you've noticed they've started to ramp up a little bit, and they're just a little bit more obtrusive. Again, and that's probably the one that I want to touch on the most. If you are having a cycle and your cycle symptoms are so severe that it is disrupting your normal day-to-day life, like if you are having to take medication to manage your symptoms during your cycle, pain medication, whatever it may be, you're bleeding so heavy that it goes through your clothes, or you're changing a tampon more than once an hour, that is more than likely something else going on. There's some underlying issues, and it's most likely not related to perimenopause. You need to get that checked out, and you need to have a little bit deeper dig on that. Your cycle should be pretty asymptomatic. You should not know that it is coming, basically. You might have a little bit of bloating, you might have a little twinge of a cramps, but definitely nothing that you should have to take medication for, nothing that should change your day in and day out. You shouldn't have to be going through clothes, like changing your clothes throughout the day because you've bled through your clothes. Anything like that, you need to go to your doctor and have a follow-up done. So I just want to state that. But those are the 7 changes that can occur that can start to show you if you are in menopause. And again, all speaking to if your cycle is pretty asymptomatic, pretty normal, regular on a day or on a monthly basis, don't really have any issues with your cycle. If you start to notice these changes and you're 40 plus, whatever it may be, it's just a sign that you're starting to have that estrogen and progesterone levels dip a little bit, and this is just what is to come. So hopefully this was helpful for you. You can find more information about me at CynthiaWilliamsWellness.com. I have a lot of options for women if you're interested in coaching or being a part of my Women's Health Club, which is a monthly club where I just provide lots of education, lots of resources, workouts, recipes, all of the things to help you through this period of life, have a good understanding of what's going on, and be in a community with a bunch of other women going through the exact same thing and going through it together. So make sure you hit the subscribe button and that little bell to get notified when any of my videos pop up. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.